Welcome to the show. This is No Interference, and we are your host, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. Week 4 is in the books, and actually Week 5 is starting tonight. So we're just going to continue with our show as usual. We got a few good topics to break down, and we are going to give you some of our picks for what we saw from the past week. So let's go. I guess we'll just dive right in. Talking about the Ravens, specifically John Harbaugh, his coaching decisions. What are we thinking?
Not ideal. I mean, if you look at every decision can be looked at in hindsight, but it was fourth down and they were in the red zone, and you have the best kicker of all time who is pretty much automatic inside 50, and Justin Tucker. And it seems like ever since, I know all the coaches are going a little bit more on the analytics nowadays with, going for fourth downs and things like that. But it was late in the game. It was 20-20. You had a surefire 3 points with Justin Tucker, and then he goes for it on fourth down. Lamar Jackson backpedals into an impossible throw, and it gets intercepted, and then, the rest is history. They end up losing the game. And it wasn't even that. It was at the end of the game. I know this is a tough decision because the Bills could have played it however they wanted, but it seemed like Marcus Peters and Calais were frustrated because the Ravens, I was kind of like off and on watching at the very end.
So
it seemed like they wanted to let them score.
The call was to let them score, and Odafe Owe went for the punch, and Singletary fumbles the ball, but he immediately falls down on it, and then he gets the first down, and it's game over. So it's kind of hard because you're like, let him score, but Odafe Owe, he pretty much does force the fumble with that punch. Just Singletary does a smart thing. He just falls straight down.
Yeah, in my opinion, once they were inside I can't remember the series of events, but once they got to the 40, inside the 40, I would have just don't make it look like you want them to score, but let them score.
Yeah.
But overall, yes, poor coaching, I thought, from John Harbaugh, not kicking that field goal. And he seems to be doing that more and so lately.
Yeah.
With Lamar Jackson on the team.
Yeah, I've never been the biggest Harbaugh supporter, but it seems like as of late, like the last 3 seasons, when it comes to late game decisions or whether to kick or go for it, I feel like more often than not, hindsight, but at the end of the game, it seems like he made the wrong choice.
Yeah. And looking at the play-by-play, they had the ball. It was 4:59 left in the game on third down, and the Ravens ran Lamar Jackson up the middle. I'm assuming it was probably schemed for him to run it, QB draw or something. I don't know. They schemed to run him more than any other team in the league. It seems like design runs.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4th and 2. Even the play on 4th and 2 was a bad call.
Yeah,
you only needed 2 yards, and they went for the end zone shot. And I think 3 Bills got through the line right away, which made Lamar Jackson backpedal. And then there's still 4 minutes in the game, and then the Bills just slowly marched down the field in a 4-minute drill. And Baltimore used their last timeout with 1 minute and 43 seconds left. And that was on the 3-yard line. So, I don't know. Obviously, it seems like coaches and players made mistakes.
Yeah, what's with the Ravens allowing all these comebacks? I mean, that's what I'm coaching too.
They have the worst pass defense in the league.
Yeah, I kind of get why in the moment as to why he went for it, but it just ended up being a horrible decision.
Well, let me propose this because someone did ask Harbaugh about it, and he referenced their analytic team and said that this was they felt at 4th and 2, they had a 50-50 chance of scoring a touchdown. So by going for it, that play is worth 3.5 points. If they kicked it, it's like a 98% chance. So that kick is worth like 2.8 points. So their analytic department determined that going for it was the best choice.
Yeah, and then the Bills would get the ball back at the 25 and still go down the field, and it would just be a tie game at that point. I don't know. I feel like kicking it makes the most sense because then you can at least get it to overtime if you stop it from scoring a touchdown. But then they knew all they needed was a field goal. They just picked you apart and went down the field methodically, getting to the point where their kicker could easily end the game.
All I got to say is that 4th and 2 with Lamar Jackson, to me, it's got to be a read option.
Yeah, play off his strong suit, which is making people miss, especially even in the backfield.
For Ryan Tannehill's first 2 years with the Titans, short yardage in the red zone, read option, and other than a misread, it worked almost every time.
Yeah, the problem with Lamar and I don't know. I don't want to say that because I don't know off the top of my head how many read options they actually run a game. I know they obviously they run read option, but it seems a little bit different than like the read option Jalen Hurts and the Eagles run. I don't understand why, and we've talked about this before over the years with Lamar Jackson. You need a yard, you need 2 yards, you need 3 yards. Why not spread everything out for him to make it easier to see? 5 wide. I don't care if there's obviously Mark Andrews would be out there, and then I don't know, J.K. Dobbins out wide or whatever. I don't know what they want to do, and give him a couple of quick looks in his first, like Mark Andrews, right, like a hitch route or something, and that like if his first read's not there, make a play, or if he's getting blitzed, somebody should be single covered for him to throw a pass to make a play. So I don't know, just it seemed like a weird play they ran.
Yeah, I don't know. Harbaugh's a good coach. I think I will stand by my thing that I think he's a little bit overrated, but it just comes down to the fact that as of late, when it comes to a coaching decision to affect the game, I feel like he makes the wrong choice.
Yeah, he's been really aggressive.
I stand by that.
The last 3 seasons on 4th and shorts, very aggressive. He seems to go for it, I would think, majority of the time.
I always say when I'm watching Ravens game that John Harbaugh is the person drinking Lamar Jackson's tea, Kool-Aid, yeah, whatever your beverage of choice is, more than anybody else, because it brings me back to that MVP for Lamar Jackson where they were mic'd up, and I don't remember who it was against, but Lamar comes running over. It always felt like Harbaugh was like a pretty conservative coach. Obviously, when you have Joe Flacco versus Lamar Jackson, that's going to change your way. But it feels like John Harbaugh changed as a coach once Lamar Jackson had his MVP season. And like he asked Lamar, he's like, "You want to go for it?" Or Lamar ran up to him and was like, "We're going for it." He's like, "Yeah." And then like ever since then, it's been like 4th and 1, go for it. Like we got to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, at some certain point, it's just, I don't know. Coming from a team that hasn't had a good kicker in quite some time, like if I had automatic within 50 and you're just taking that,
Just points that up.
It's hard to keep up with that.
And Tucker has won them games off of 60-yard field goals. I don't know if it's more than once, but it feels like it's more than once. Yeah. Even if it's not 60, it's in the 50s. And so you kick the field goal to go up by 3. Let's say Buffalo does go down the field. and ties it. Either way, I don't know. I felt like the worst case scenario, Buffalo scored again, and you still had time on the clock. If you believe in Lamar Jackson so much, you should have confidence to go score again. Or if Buffalo kicks a field goal, then maybe you have some time left to hit a 65-yard field goal from Justin Tucker. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anywho, while we're talking about coaches, if were my understanding, looks like Matt Ryan might have just fumbled again. Some coaches' seats are getting a little toasty.
Getting hot.
If I were throwing it out there, I think Frank Wright with the Colts, Kingsbury with the Cardinals, and Matt Rhule with the Panthers are different degrees, but they're getting a little warm.
Returned.
Yeah. I feel like this is for sure, especially if if they don't make the playoffs, which it's looking like to be the case, especially for the Panthers, it's got to be Rhule's last season because let's go back to his first season. They were 5-11. His second season, they were 5-12. And then this year they're starting off 1-3. So it's literally been no improvement. They've tried they have weapons. And I know they've had quarterback instability, but every quarterback they've had, nothing's looked different. Their offense
is just ugly.
Bland. Yeah, and he was an offensive coordinator, right? Or no, he came out of college.
Yeah, he's from Baylor, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's just for almost his entire tenure, it's ride Christian McCaffrey or have a terrible offense.
Yeah, I mean, and since he's been there, McCaffrey hasn't even been healthy.
And now he's on his third quarterback. I'll admit, I thought Baker to the Carolina Panthers was a great fit. I thought it'd be a really good offense. Well, not really good, but a good offense. And Baker, you could make an argument that outside of last year when he was injured, this is the worst Baker's looked in his career.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers, they're 32nd in the league in yards, 30th in pass yards, 24th in rush yards. And we've alluded to it, the talent they have. They have DJ Moore. I mean, Robbie Anderson was a 1,000-yard receiver on the Jets, I think, or at least close to it. Whether you like him or not, he's a deep threat. Christian McCaffrey appears to be healthy this year.
A little banged up. Last week we had one of his better weeks last week.
Yeah, he actually caught the ball out of the backfield. And then, who do they have a tight end? I can't remember. But
Cam Thomas or something like that.
Yeah. And their offensive line is fairly decent from what I understand. And I think a player like Baker Mayfield, who's played well in this league, he had the playoff season with the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's partially his fault, the way they're performing, but as a coach, you can't get anything out of his talent. And then I think when Rhule was interviewed, he did his post-game interview. I hope I don't mess this up, but I'm pretty sure he commented on Baker Mayfield, his technique and footwork and stuff, and the wide receivers not getting open. And he is the head coach. He's in the NFL, and we're not. But and maybe he did take blame, but I don't know.
Right.
I just don't like him as a coach.
0 to 5. 0 being a nice, cool fall day. 5 being devil's crotch. How hot is his seat?
I'll go 4.5.
Yeah, I said 4.
All right, fair. I would have to agree. 4. Well, actually, no. I'm saying 5. He's not. He's done. he'll be lucky to make it through the season.
They would have to have a miraculous playoff berth for him to return, in my mind.
Even if
he's in
Baker
his
gets
third season, so.
even if Baker gets hot and carries the team to the playoffs, I'm firing Rhule. All right, well that takes us to coach number 2, Kliff Kingsbury for the Cardinals. He got his job after being this offensive guru at Texas Tech that could not win with friggin' Patrick Mahomes, of all things. And, he comes in, they let him pick another quarterback right after they spent a first-round pick on Josh Rosen. And, now they gave Murray that big contract, and I don't know. I'm not impressed. It's just the same. It's the same thing. They're spreading the ball out, putting the whole team on Murray's back, and the defense just continues to be a little lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, so his first year was Kyler Murray's first year, and obviously they had some growing pains there. They went 5-10, and then second year they went 8-8, and they started off pretty good that year. They were 6-3, and then the classic meltdown at the end. They lost 5 of their last 7 games, and then last year or 2 years ago they were 11-6. But even in that year, they lost 4 of the last 5 games. And then last year, we all remember what happened. They went, oh, wait, that was last year. I'm sorry. 11-6 was last year.
This is 4th year.
Yeah, they started off 7-0, and then they had that meltdown. So that, to me, and that's going back to college, and we've talked about this on the show before, I think. And that's just a leadership thing in my mind. And last week, you saw Kyler Murray get frustrated on the field. I think it was because of him or the play calls.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys, and I feel like he's one of them, and like you said, Taylor, maybe he was a little overrated coming out of college. He couldn't even win with Patrick Mahomes, who everyone knows what he is now. Maybe they're just not meant to be head coaches. Maybe just coordinators.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe he gets let go, becomes an offensive coordinator somewhere, and I don't know, maybe he goes back to college. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, statistically, last year, their offense ranked 8th in yards, 11th in points. This year so far, they're 14th in yards, 14th in points, so more towards middle of the pack. But having the talent they have, and Kyler Murray is obviously one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and it just never seems to come together. So
all I'm saying is, look, he's supposed to be an offensive genius. He has Kyler Murray. They added Hollywood Brown. Hopkins is on suspension. They traded for Zach Ertz. They drafted McBride, the rookie tight end. They have Rondale Moore. Up until this year, they had Christian Kirk. They have AJ Green. And it's just like, at this point, I think we've seen who you are, and I don't think he's a good head coach.
yeah, I think his seat is fairly warm. I think
burning.
Yeah, I think because I mean, it's always hard to fire a coach after you make the playoffs. So for all these coaches, obviously, if you make the playoffs, you probably save your season. But yeah,
all right,
I don't know.
All right. 1 to 5. 1 being a nice Wendy's Frosty. 5 being a DiGiorno pizza right out of the oven. How hot is this seat?
I'm going to give him a 3 for now.
I'm going to say a solid 4. I think he's fired if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 4. And the reason I say that is similar to what you just said. I feel like he needs to make the playoffs. And listen, they paid Murray. He's not going anywhere. And you still got to contend with the Rams. The Niners look pretty good. So he's not in the best spot in the world.
Yeah, the whole division is 2-2, so it's up for grabs. But the Niners defense is looking great.
Yeah.
Niners offense, not so good.
All right, there's one more coach we want to break down. He's coaching tonight, maybe for his job. Frank Reich. Colts are just honestly a complete mess this year, and he seems to always have a dumb look on his face.
I did see him. I was a Reich fan, obviously. He won the Super Bowl. He didn't win the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl as the Eagles offensive coordinator in 2017. But I saw him in his, I don't know if it was after quarter interview in between the first and second quarter or what it was, but they were interviewing him. And I guess the Colts preached like offensive line this whole week, and the offensive line's not looking good. And they asked him about it, and his, I don't know. I feel the same way. His answer just wasn't good, and not to be rude, like looked a little like dumb. I don't want to say that, but
yeah,
he's definitely had good.
This is what kind of cracked me up. After the Titans beat the Colts, and I go check on the Colts blogs just to see how they're doing, just to make myself feel better. And all these Colts fans are saying, apparently Frank has, whenever he's questioned about something that's going wrong, he goes, "We just gotta reevaluate from the top down." Apparently, he says it all the time. And one of the guys I work with is a Colts fan, and I was like, "Yeah, is Frank kind of annoying when he's getting interviewed, or some of the stuff he says after a disappointing game?" And without me even saying anything, buddy at work just goes, "Yeah, they got to reevaluate it from the top down." And I was just like, "He really says it that much?" He's like, "That's all he says."
I don't want to give him too much of a hard. I don't want to give him too much of a hard time, because we do see coaches in the NFL. I don't know, because I mean, you have Bill Belichick, but he's obviously one of the greatest coaches of all time, and he barely says anything in press conferences. And then, I mean, just off the top of my head, because I'm an Eagles fan, Nick Sirianni got blasted for his first press conference, and he looks like a decent coach now. So maybe that's just his go-to thing to say. And it all depends on if the team's buying into his message behind the scenes or not. And they've, similarly to the Panthers, have had a different quarterback almost every single year.
4 years, different starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, in 20, when did he take over? 2018?
2018.
And he had Andrew Luck that year, and they went 10-6.
Yep.
And then Andrew Luck retired the following year. They went
Brissett.
Yeah, they went 7-9 with Jacoby Brissett.
Then Philip Rivers.
They went 11-5, and then
Wentz.
Last year with Wentz they went 9-8, and they didn't make the playoffs that 11-5 year either.
Which is wild. That's a good record.
No, with Rivers they did. They lost to the Bills.
First round. Yeah, first round knockout.
Oh yeah, here it is.
Wild
24-27. Sorry about that.
No. They
lost 24-27.
Yeah, they were a wild card that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thing with Frank this year, I'm not going to blame the quarterback situation on him. Maybe if you want to blame him on Wentz, that's fine. But the rest, I lean on the GM, not him. But the game that's going on now, Colts Broncos, their O-line's been in shambles all year. So, but it's mainly been the right guard's been trash. So they thought, let's move our right tackle that we're paying like $80 million to right guard. Let's move our left tackle, who's hardly holding it together at left tackle, to right tackle. And let's put on our rookie left tackle for his first start. And against the Broncos front, which is pretty good. And their rookie left tackle, I think he already has like 4 holding penalties.
Yeah, he's got
Matt Ryan's getting
Destroyed.
hit every other play just about. But I think the biggest thing is, and I'm not going to really blame this year because they're all sorts of mess, but last year specifically, they start the year, Carson Wentz has 2 busted up ankles, and they're throwing the ball like 40, 50 times a game. Then, for their little win streak, they are running the crap out of Jonathan Taylor. Just, we're going to win on his back or we're going to lose. Then you get to the end of the year when you just need to get a couple more wins to get into the playoffs, and teams are all of a sudden putting like 9 in the box to stop Jonathan Taylor. And then when pressure situation, you need a win or else, and you've been riding Jonathan Taylor all year, and then it's like, okay, Wentz, we need you to take over the team again. And Wentz is like, oh, I've just been handing the ball off for 8 weeks. Now you want me to come out slinging? Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, those are good points.
Yeah, we had talked about that when Wentz got traded originally too. A lot of the blame for the playoff miss was on him.
Hey, I was in front of. I've been in front of this Colts situation for like months now, and just everyone else is finally catching up.
Yeah.
Listen, some of us were a little high on them because we thought Matt Ryan would bring stability, but the thing with, Wentz was Reich's guy, right? I mean, that's why they traded a first-round pick for him. They thought they could bring that 2017 magic back. Didn't quite turn out that way. And, I mean, a lot of people were saying after he left and the Eagles are struggling that was he the mastermind behind the offense, and Doug Peterson was the problem, but I don't know. Maybe they need to be together.
It's not looking good.
All right.
1
to 5. 1 being a nice, cold, refreshing Mission Barbecue sweet tea. 5 being inside of a black car in the middle of August. When you first get in.
He's in the back seat with the windows rolled up.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Water!
I'm not going to say that.
Water!
But the keys are out of the car, and no one's coming back for him for a few hours.
He's Peter Griffin when he locked himself inside his car.
Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the Colts have a bye next week. Or if it's week 7. No, I'm sorry. I don't know if the Colts have a week 6 bye.
They have a week 14 bye.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So the Colts have, I don't have their schedule up. They're playing
They got
the Broncos.
Denver, they got Jacksonville, at Tennessee, Washington, New England, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Dallas, then they're bye.
I think if they go 1-6 or whatever, well, 1-5-1 or something like that, I think he's fired.
Yeah, I mean, he's an offensive coordinator, an offensive guy. I know Matt Ryan hasn't been good, and Jonathan Taylor hasn't been great. Oddly enough, Jonathan Taylor hasn't faced a ton of stacked boxes this year.
He's facing 8-man boxes on like 12% of plays or runs or something.
Yeah, so...
Which is like, that's nothing.
Yeah, so I mean, their offensive line is obviously an issue, but they scored 20 points, 0 points, 20 points, 17 points this week against the Broncos. It looks like it's going to be another sub-20 week.
Yeah.
So...
Well, you know what else I think is hurting... is playing against him. You fire Frank, you just go ahead and promote Gus Bradley, who's your defensive coordinator. He has head coach experience. He's a head coach.
Right?
Huh?
Is he with the Bills?
Jags.
He
has head coach experience. He was going to be on a short list of coaches probably to get hired next season. So if you're Jim Irsay, season is kind of going on the toilet, you can be like, all right, see you later, Frank, Gus. You have second half of the season to prove to me that you should be our new head coach moving forward.
Yeah, I mean their defense is the only reason why they have one win. They beat the Chiefs 20-17,
which is wild.
And they're 13th in the league in points allowed, 6th in yards. So I mean, he's coaching good, and they've been without Shaq Leonard. So
and Jonathan Taylor's out tonight, which doesn't help them at all. It's being the best player.
Yeah.
But
all right,
these offenses look whack.
Well, taking a little bit of change in direction, and RJ, you can speak on this probably more so. Brian Robinson is looking to return to the field after the robbery incident where he was shot twice in the leg, I believe. So that was a pretty speedy recovery. Hopefully,
just flesh wound.
I think they said he might make his debut this week 5.
It's looking that way. He's in full practice, looking good. And the offense definitely needs him. Who knows? I mean, we just saw him in preseason. There's a lot of hype. There's hype videos coming out left and right, and he's coming back, which is great and all. But I don't know if he's really going to be the one key thing we need to get some offense going.
I mean, those Alabama running backs are built different.
Yeah, it would be nice be able to lean on the run more, put a little bit less pressure on Wentz with our O-line being so banged up, and just overall playing at a poor level. We're now out. We're starting right tackle. I think center, right guard is about to switch around because Andrew Norwell is looking pretty bad, and nobody can stay healthy on the left side either.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough if the offensive line is in shambles.
Yeah.
I have to assume if he's fully healthy and as good as advertised this offseason, that he should be able to bring a little bit of juice to the run game. I mean, obviously, you guys have been running with Gibson and McKissick, who McKissick's essentially pure receiving back, and Antonio Gibson, I think you've mentioned a few times, RJ, he shouldn't be a receiver. I think you guys have said that before.
They should put him out. They should definitely put him out a receiver more, line him up outside. But
and I mean, you guys are 21st in the league in rushing yards, 20th in rushing touchdowns, and 21st in yards per attempt. So, I mean, Brian Robinson's a big Alabama back, so maybe some downhill running can open things up, and that also should help Carson Wentz with play action if he can run successfully, because then you can, I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched the games. You can probably talk about it, but I'm assuming you guys don't run Antonio Gibson right into the I form into the middle of the defense.
Listen. No. I'm pretty sure before games, Antonio Gibson takes a stick of butter and just greases up his elbows because he cannot hold the ball to save his life.
No.
I forgot he's got the Fumblerooskies.
Fumbleatis, yeah. I haven't been able to watch the last couple of games because last week, I was in Disney, and then the week before they didn't show it on TV against the Eagles, and I was working, so I usually, if it's on TV, I can look up, but it was not.
But yeah,
O-line, I saw the reports that even Trey Turner, everybody's saying he's done. It was a horrible signing. Even though he's still young and he had some impressive years. I don't know what's going on. Got to gel together, become one.
Speaking of another coach, even though we're talking about Brian Robinson, I think Brian Robinson should bring some juice, but is Ron Rivera on the hot seat?
Well, I was actually going to add him to the list when you were saying it earlier, but I was like, he's already got 3. He's definitely heading that direction, that's for sure. I don't think they'll fire him after this year, depending on what happens.
Yeah,
but definitely.
The only reason I didn't think about putting him on it is because of expectations. Like, he was mainly brought in to try and be a
culture changer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's definitely changed the culture in the locker room, but
the rest of
people
the team
aren't stepping up on the field. Kendall Fuller's not playing to his best ability. We got young corners outplaying him. Benjamin St-Juste is looking good, though. Cam Curl's looking good. I know you've heard Derek Forrest. We definitely have some talent back there, and the defense is every game so far have gotten a little better, especially in the second half. They hold their ground pretty hard, but then the offense just isn't producing points. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I'm less worried about the defense than anything right now, for being honest.
But hopefully Brian Robinson coming back maybe gives the team a little shot of energy.
And then Chase Young due back here, hopefully by mid-season. I thought it was going to be earlier. I think a lot of people did. But at the same time, you don't want to rush him back for a losing season either way. Let him do what he has to do to get healthy.
Yeah. Well, when the whole story broke with Brian Robinson with the shooting, I thought he was done for the year for sure. So just the fact that he can come back, that's good for him. And we will see how he does this weekend if he gets any playing time.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to see him out there.
Staying in the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles are the last remaining undefeated team. They have their number one offense, and they're the number 4 or 5 defense. I can't recall. Are the Eagles legit?
They have the number
2 offense.
2 offense and number 3 defense in terms of yards.
Okay.
Scoring 4th and 9th respectively. I think we need to hear from you two because you're obviously not Eagles fans. I think, Eagles fans are pretty good. Maybe not. I think I'm pretty good as an Eagles fan with keeping my expectations at a good level. I didn't have a ton of expectations this season until I got closer and closer to the season. I saw the additions we made and to the defense and trading for A.J. Brown. It just looked like a complete team. It just had to play out on the field, and so far it has. Besides special teams, which I think outside of Jake Elliott is kind of lackluster, the punter's not great, and the punt returning and all that stuff is mediocre, but obviously offense and defense are the most important. I think a reason why they're not pretenders, one is because they're a complete team and nobody can refute that just looking at their roster, especially with Jalen Hurts playing well. And based off of 4 weeks into the season, their schedule is pretty darn easy. I've seen a couple of articles, which is dumb, that 17-0, that's stupid. And that's just not expectations you want to put on a young team that's, just trying to make their way and have a breakout season. But, they're playing the Cardinals. They have Dallas, then they have a bye week. They have the Steelers underperforming, who just started. Pickett, who's taken over. Houston Texans, obviously one of the weaker rosters in the NFL. Commanders are struggling. Yeah, Colts are struggling. Packers offense is still trying to put it together. Titans have come on the last few weeks. Giants are 3-1, but are they really as good as that record? Bears, no. Justin Fields is kind of trash. Dallas Cowboys, they've been impressive along with the Giants, but we'll see what happens. Saints have underperformed, and then the Giants again at the end of the year. So
there's a lot of schedule.
Yeah, I think they're legit. I think their schedule helps them too. They're the type of team that could really benefit from this is way too early, but a first overall seed. And if they have that home field advantage, but their roster's good. They're playing well. It seems like they've bought into Nick Sirianni's message. And I like where they're headed.
Yeah, they're the real deal. Start in the trenches. Show me a team that's good in the trenches, and I'll show you probably a playoff caliber team. Eagles have probably Well, you can't even argue. They have a top 3 O-line. They might have the best O-line in the league this year. D-line, they're not as deep as they've been in the past, but they're equally as good. You got Fletcher Cox, Hargrave, young Jordan Davis. So got Brandon Graham, who apparently going to play forever. He's the Tom Brady of defensive ends.
He's having a good year.
Yeah, he's having a really good year. Finally, Eagles have
Don't forget Sweat.
But finally, the Eagles have some guys at linebacker. You got 2 studs with Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and then is Maddox in the slot?
Yeah, he's in the slot.
Then you bring in Gardner from the Saints, which I think was a sneaky good trade. And that's just talking about the defense. And then let's just not forget on offense, monster O-line. You got Miles Sanders, who is coming to his own on the season. Jalen Hurts is not afraid to run some QB power and get those tough yardage. Then you got Dallas Goedert, throwback tight end. A.J. Brown, swole Batman. What?
Just what you said real quick on Jalen Hurts running the read option power. That's what I was alluding to earlier. You can't really do that on goal line situations or short yardage situations with Lamar Jackson. Not saying he's better than Lamar Jackson. He's not. But
Lamar isn't good at it.
That seems to be a very
weird thing.
For Jalen Hurts, a thing I don't think people accounted for, and neither did I. But he seems to be able to take hits without getting hit hard, and he looks like he puts the work on the defenders a lot.
Yeah, he squats 600 pounds.
Yeah, so that's not really something you can account for as a like if you're running back, if your quarterback can he's done it throughout his career, gotten goal line touchdowns where he's done it multiple times this year. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. Well, I was gonna say you got the 3 Batmans, swole Batman, skinny Batman, fast Batman. But
you gotta count for Goddard too.
Well, I said throwback. Goddard, throwback tight end.
Goddard should be a Batman.
No, he's throwback. So it's a really complete team, and people. I think some people go, well, they'll go as far as Jalen Hurts. I'm like, well, Jalen Hurts has got them to 4-0, and you brought this up the other day when me and you were talking. They've had games where they are rushing for 200 yards, and they've had games when Hurts is throwing for 300 yards. So it's kind of pick your poison.
Yeah, I mean,
they if you want to say something, they could be better in the second half, but they're going to the playoffs, and they are probably going to be competing for a number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, and one more thing. Some people have said their competition is not that great. The Lions look like they have one of the best offenses in the league. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-1. Their only losses to the Eagles. They look like a playoff caliber team. The Commanders obviously struggling. Sorry, RJ.
Shambles.
The Jacksonville Jaguars look like a surprising team at 2-1. So I wouldn't say their schedule's been a cakewalk, and that was a really rough weather game. And that's not an advantage for the Eagles, like some people want to say. That's both teams are playing in those elements, and the Eagles were able to utilize the players that they have. That's not their fault.
Before that Jags-Eagles games, we were talking, and I was like, this is a chance for the Jags to show that they are actually turned around. They're a good team, or it's a chance for the Eagles to, say, hey, you're not on our level, bud. And Jags got spotted 14 points, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, can Hurts do this coming from behind? Eagles defense definitely stepped up, and then they dropped, 29 unanswered?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, my last thought on this, they're first in the league in point turnover differential. They've gone over 400 yards of offense in every single game, and they've only allowed 300 yards of offense on defense once, and that was against the Detroit Lions, which was a terrible tackling game, which I said every team comes into week 1 with a poor defense after not playing in the preseason. That's my last thought.
All right. Not bad. Do we want to go into our picks of week 4?
Sure.
All right. So, are we for now sticking with calling this segment Who You Got?
Works for me.
All right. So, let's see who you got. Week 4. Let's just start with our week 4 MVPs. Anyone want to go first, or
I'll go. I went with Saquon Barkley.
what a brain buster.
Let me find this really quick, wherever it is. So I know the Giants were playing the Bears and they won 20-12, but I went with Saquon Barkley because if you watch the game, hang on. He had 146 yards rushing, 4.7 yards per carry. His long was only 29, so he was consistently getting chunk plays on the ground. He only had 2 catches for 16 yards, but one of those was a really, really good play where the Bears kind of blew up the screen. He caught it. I think he broke a tackle, cut backwards, going the opposite side of the field, and then he just had a crazy burst and got the first down. He also didn't score, but I think he was the reason why Daniel Jones had those 2 rushing touchdowns because
You
both
mean
of
when
those
he just
plays,
walked in?
Yeah, both of those plays were play actions. The whole defense bit for Saquon Barkley. The corners stuck with their guys on it. So it was man coverage, and they sold out for Saquon Barkley, and then Daniel Jones bootleg Peyton Manning walked into the end zone. The first one was a good 20-yard rush, but, I mean, no one was near him, obviously, if he scampered for 20 yards into the end zone. And I think both of those
on him.
Yeah, and I think both of those were a direct result of Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones did nothing else through the game. Through the air, he was 8. They threw the ball 13 times. Well, Tyrod Taylor threw it 3 times. I'm not sure why. I guess the end of the game where Daniel Jones got hurt. I don't know.
Yeah, because Barkley went to a Wildcat quarterback because they both got hurt.
Right. I forgot about that. So there you go. Barkley was playing quarterback too. I forgot about that. But yeah, Daniel Jones was 8 of 13. He only had 71 yards. They have no talent on the outside. What's his name? Just tore his ACL.
Sterling Shepard,
but he is who he is. So that's why I went with Saquon Barkley. It's pretty much, Saquon Barkley is it's Barkley or bust for the Giants at this point. Their season is going to go as Barkley's season goes. They've obviously not played the toughest schedule so far, but if Saquon Barkley can be a one-man wrecking crew like he was this last week, and he didn't even score a touchdown, that's good, and that's why I picked him for my Week 4 MVP.
All right, I'll go for my MVP. Just quick break. Broncos Colts game. Russell Wilson just threw a bomb, and Colts safety got tripped by the ref. And Sutton and Washington, both Broncos receivers, both caught it for I'm pretty sure it was like a 35, 40-yard strike. Sutton
Touchdown?
got it.
Yeah,
No. But Washington was falling, and then Sutton jumped in front of him and took it. But the Colts safety would have broke it up, but the ref he tripped over the ref and fell.
Staying refs can't get out of the way.
But my MVP, and I hate to say it, is Josh Jacobs.
Ooh.
Raiders coming in 0-3, playing the Broncos. He goes 31 carries for 148, 2 touchdowns against the Broncos front, which is pretty solid. And he He does the dirty work. They get the lead and just basically pounded the Broncos into submission. 31 carries is quite the burden in the NFL, and he just did his job and may have saved their season potentially. So that's my MVP of the week. I do have a co-MVP just to shout him out. I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. Trey Turner on the Titans, their nose tackle. My play of the week, got the tip, got the ballerina fallback, caught the interception. Big play. Look at it on our Twitter if you haven't seen it.
That was the longest big man pick six ever, isn't it?
Wasn't a pick six.
Oh, I thought a big man got a pick six last week. I thought it was the same play.
Maybe. All right, RJ, you got MVP?
Yeah, it's going to be good old Geno Smith.
Ooh, okay.
I almost picked him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tell me about
30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 10 yards a throw. Battling out with we would just say could have been one of the best offenses in the NFL in the Detroit Lions when it comes to scoring. Jesus. Can't believe how many points they've scored. But I bet Dan Campbell is pissed at that defense. I'll tell you what. 48 points. It's a lot. But go Geno. Seems to be getting a nice little resurgence in Seattle, which we did say could happen before the season started.
He had didn't he have 70 yards rushing and a touchdown too? I think I was looking at his stats earlier.
Yeah, let me check. I have it. Yeah, he had 49 yards rushing, but he did have a touchdown.
So, that's a complete game right there.
Yeah,
Rashad Penny went off too, but
Geno looks good. I know we were all cracking jokes and whatnot about the Seahawks, and for good reason. But he's not really making a ton of mistakes. He's making the right play. He hasn't played a lot, but he is a veteran, and he brings a veteran presence to the offense. And even though he's a gap quarterback, he's keeping this team basically out of the dumpster. And
some people are even saying that they might not even need to look for a quarterback next year.
He's 10th in the league in yards and touchdowns, passing as far as quarterbacks go.
He has 2 picks.
And this one is really impressive. He is first in the league in completion percentage at 77. The only 2 players ahead of him are Brian Hoyer and Jordan Love, and obviously they don't count because they only have 6 and 5 passes a game.
They're not registered.
Yeah, so he leads the league in completion percentage, which is super impressive.
Man, the Colts just blocked the Broncos field goal. It's still 6-6. Man, Broncos offense is struggling.
Let's ride.
Yeah, let's ride to the freaking gutter.
All right, let's ride over to our letdown of the week. We'll keep the order, so Sassafras, it's to you.
My letdown of the week, and I'm not sure if this is actual letdown because my expectations were already low, but I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield.
Ooh, kick a man while he's down.
Listen, he's been disappointing all year. The only game I can really recall where he showed any kind of flash was the second half against the Browns. He showed a little something, but it's early in the season. It was a good game to show your talent. The Cardinals have I think their pass defense is in the lower half of the league as far statistically, at least in yards and touchdowns given up.
Listen, you want to challenge that secondary, you got to get the ball past the D-line first.
Exactly. So it was a defense he should have been able to challenge, and I don't have the stat, but I'm pretty sure the ball got swatted 20 times. JJ Watt did it multiple times.
Well, I think it was 9 times, but
What, I'm exaggerating on purpose.
You know how many times I saw DJ Moore wide open, and I was like, "This is it, and then I saw a big hand just come up and swat the ball
This
down.
was supposed to be a good breakout game for DJ Moore too. It was week 4. I don't know. Everything seemed to be lined up. I don't know. It was a really ugly game to watch. I watched most of it live. He didn't look good. He doesn't look confident. I know it's for week 4, disappointment, but I mean his completion percentage on the year is 54. He only has 700 yards passing. He only has 4 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's been disappointing all year, and I thought they could have turned it around a little bit this week, shown a little something, and he showed less. So
Yeah,
he's my letdown.
That's fair. That's fair. I was a pretty big Baker supporter, and
he's got the talent. There's no reason why. He's got a strong arm.
Maybe it's Matt Rhule.
He threw. I don't know. I won't get into it. But
yeah. Well, my letdown of the week is the Indianapolis Colts. Not trying to hate on them, even though I tend to, but they borderline coming into the game with the Titans. The Jags are, looking good. Titans, Colts both in a rough spot. Need to get this win to keep up in this early part of the season. And they come out and basically bury themselves in a 24-3 hole. They look bad on defense. O-line can't block anyone. Frank doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. Shaq Leonard finally comes back from injury. When he's recovered from his off-season surgery, and in the second quarter, he gets laid out by his own teammate, and it was a pretty rough hit. So hopefully he can come back healthy. And then insult to injury, when they're trying to mount their comeback, Jonathan Taylor tweaks his ankle, and now he's sidelined for a little bit. So this is letdown of the week for me. This could very well turn to letdown of the year in a couple months.
Very possible. They've been disappointing, to say the least.
At the very least.
All right, RJ, you got your letdown?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins, specifically their coaching
Miami
staff.
Dolphins. Miami Dolphins.
For even letting Tua come play this week. And letting all that shit bullcrap happen. He might have, people were saying he shouldn't ever play again, all this other stuff. It's pretty obvious. In week 1, when he stood up, or not week 1, in week 3, when he stood up for 2 seconds and then fell right back to the ground, that he has something that we like to call a concussion, which I thought they've been sued for and learned their lesson with already. But apparently not. Now they got to go readjusting the rules again.
Well, RJ, you were on vacation last week, but we talked about it. We were like, Tua, it very clearly looked like a concussion. They're saying it was a back injury, and we said, God forbid he plays next week and he takes another big hit, and that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. And the hit that brought him down the second time really wasn't as bad as the first one. It wasn't that big. It's just that he was already had the damage done. And so when he hit the back of his head again, even in the slightest, it was game over.
Well, not to say that like anything good will come of it, but it sounds like the league is going to adjust their concussion policies to hopefully better protect the players.
Yeah, even outside of Tua, he wasn't playing that well against the Bengals, and then they gave up that big play to T. Higgins. Feel like that sealed the game.
We did see our boy Teddy Bridgewater. I'm always rooting for him.
Likeable guy, good quarterback.
But yeah, it definitely wasn't a good look. Dolphins already have tons of issues, and I haven't really checked in on the story, but who knows when Tua will be cleared to
I'm
come
gonna
back.
guess he's gonna be out at least 2 games.
Yeah,
I would say at most maybe like 4 to 6.
Yeah,
who knows?
if they're lucky.
I'm trying to remember. There was a player a couple years ago. He got a concussion and missed like half the season.
Luke Kuechly, I'm pretty sure he retired because of concussions.
Chris Borland, 49ers linebacker, had like 2 good years, or maybe his rookie year or whatever. Got like 1 or 2 concussions, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yep.
Well, let's move on to our team of the week. Trevor, let you go first.
I'm going with the homer pick. I'm the Philadelphia Eagles.
Bandwagon.
Look, I looked through all of the games and I tried to pick a different team. And maybe it is just some internal bias in me, but I just felt like I was the most impressed with them. They came into the game with heavier expectations after starting 3-0. They were going up against the Jaguars team that also had high expectations after a surprising 2-1 start. They look like a pretty impressive team. The weather was doo-doo. It was the remnants of a hurricane, strong winds, strong rain. So immediately going into that game, you're like, oh, this is going to be an ugly game. You know, passing is going to be tough. The field's just going to be wet. You know, people sliding all over the place. Then they went down to a quick 14-0 hole. Jalen Hurts threw the pick 6. I think the next possession, the Eagles went 4 and out. And no, the Eagles went for it on 4th down, didn't get it.
Yes.
And then the Jaguars went down no, I can't remember if that happened. I don't know, but the Jaguars scored on their next drive. So it was 14-0, and it looked pretty rough at that point. I was a little concerned, especially with that kind of weather. It's hard to come back, and the Eagles pretty much at that point put their foot down, scored 29 unanswered points, and we kind of already talked about this game a little bit in the Eagles. But they forced 5 fumbles, I think. 4 or 5 fumbles. I think all but one. Yeah.
Wasn't one James Robinson?
Yeah, one was James Robinson, which they didn't recover. It was a tackle from behind. But the rest were on Trevor Lawrence. Some were self-mistakes by him, but some the Eagles forced. Hassan Reddick caused 2 of them. They ran the ball constantly. They had 200 yards on the ground. So it was just an impressive game because they showed me they could come from behind in the elements. They showed another way they could win by rushing the ball. They scored 4 touchdowns as well on the ground. Jalen Hurts, as you mentioned earlier, had the goal line touchdown where he kind of trucked the defender in, but it was a tough run. Miles Sanders had a really big day. I think it was a career day for him. I think he had the most rush yards and he had 2 touchdowns. And then Gainwell also had a touchdown.
And we both benched him in fantasy.
Yeah. And then the defense put the clamps down after that 14-0 lead. They gave up a touchdown in the 4th quarter. But they had another few turnovers. They sacked Trevor Lawrence, I think 5 times. James Bradbury and Hassan Reddick look like really good free agency signings, especially James Bradbury being a bargain the Giants essentially gifted us.
Yeah, because they don't know how to handle their cap.
Yeah, he made a really good read coming off of his player and picking off Trevor Lawrence targeting Christian
Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk. I was like, is that his last name or his first name? I got a brain fart. But overall, I was very impressed. I thought they showed they can win through adversity. So,
I mean, I can't really argue with it. It's just funny because it's your team, so I could call you a homer. My team of the week is...
It's not funny, it's facts.
Well, my team of the week is the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, you bastard.
They beat the Rams 24-9, but honestly, it felt like it wasn't even that close. The Niners got 7 sacks, forced 2 turnovers. Deebo Samuel had a highlight play for the first quarter of the year where he snags a high pass, breaks a tackle, gets downfield. Juszczyk and Kittle clear the way, and then he hits the burner and he's gone for a touchdown.
Beautiful touchdown.
Jimmy G filling in after Lance breaks his ankle, and he is, playing smart football. They're keeping him protected, no sacks, no turnovers. They're looking really good. They're getting really good play out of their second-year linebacker. A lot of people are talking about him, but he's probably still a little unknown. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. Talanoa Hufanga. Second-year linebacker out of USC. He has 2 interceptions on the year already. A lot of people are throwing around the Troy Polamalu comparison. I would say chill out on that. He is playing really good, so you look at this defense.
Wait, is he the one that got the pick 6?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a corner because it was on the
Nick
outside.
Bosa, Fred Warner, I remember how to pronounce the last name. I had to write it down. Hufanga. They got people coming back from injury, but they get the win against the Rams. They get back to 2-2 now on the year. 2-2. But if you look at them, they've scored 71 points on the year. They've only allowed 46. They're undefeated at home. So they're my team of the week. They're only going to get better once they get a little bit healthier. And they basically dismantled the reigning Super Bowl champions on Monday Night Football.
Yep. Those are all the reasons why they were my pick of the week as well. But
I said it first.
You can have the same pick.
Yeah, it's okay to have the same pick.
Well, yeah, but I could pick somebody else as a backup anyway, just in case, because you never know. So I'm gonna go back with my Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks for keeping up with the highest, most prolific offense of the season so far, which is the Lions scoring. I think they're outscoring everybody right now, aren't they? Number 1 in scoring.
We can find out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they are.
Find out.
Yeah. Defense needs some work, giving up all these points, but.
Who's your team of the week, the Lions or the Seahawks?
The Seahawks, say for the Seahawks. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Their offense being able to keep up with the Lions.
They have
Detroit is 35 points a game.
They're number 1 in the league in yards and points.
Yeah. So as a secondary pick, I'm going with Seattle. But what do you know?
Yeah, it was an impressive game. I mean, altogether, you didn't think the Seahawks coming into the year, that was a game the Seahawks had any business winning. I think expectations were that the Lions had a pretty good offense. They showed last year that they had a little bit of fighting in them, and they have talented players. Jared Goff's the biggest question mark on that offense, I think. And Seattle looked like they were in shambles with Geno Smith possibly wanting to trade DK Metcalf and or Tyler Lockett.
Real quick, I'm sorry.
Big game.
I don't mean to cut you off. The Lions are averaging 35 points per game. They are allowing 35.3 points per game.
Well,
Which
this
is why
is
they
funny.
have the record they have.
This is why they're the Lions. They have the number 1 offense, the number 1 points scored and yards, and then the 32nd in yards given up and points given up.
Yeah.
They've
So
scored
polar opposite ends.
They've scored 140 points. They've given up 141.
Literally.
They've gained 1,747 yards. They've given up 1,779 yards.
So basically, if you're a fantasy football guy, you gotta get some Lions players and then just start whoever they're playing against.
Yeah. Yeah, they were out all their top receivers last week, and T.J. Hawkinson decided to freaking put his big boy pants on and go out there and get the job done.
Yeah, Jamal Williams got me 20 points in 2 leagues.
I don't know if you guys sent me the picture, but it was like this team was outscored by T.J. Hawkinson this week, and it was like Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey. It was all these stud fantasy players, but they all had bad games, and it was like this entire team
had 20 points.
Okay, then maybe it wasn't McCaffrey. It was another top 25. Running back. But it was like this entire team was outscored by T.J. Hawkinson, and it was a team full of like stud players.
It's been a rough year for fantasy.
And of course, I played T.J. Hawkinson this week and had 2 duds with Waddle getting 5 points because of the whole Tua thing, and I think he got a little hurt. I'm not sure.
Yeah, my fantasy.
Dalton Schultz might as well not even played last week. Might as well just sat the week out again.
Oh, I got it right here.
Burger.
Whoops, sorry. All right. So the team of Lamar Jackson, Najee Harris, James Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Mark Andrews, and Tony Pollard combined for 36 points, and Hawkinson scored 39.
Exactly. Ridiculous. Jerichoff says you get the ball on that boy, better be ready.
How do you put out a team that puts out 38 points?
I mean, on paper, that team is solid. I scored 50. I scored 50 points one time this year already.
This is the lowest scoring week I've had in the farmers market by a big margin.
Farmers market. All right. Not a bad show. Anything else y'all want to talk about?
I think that wraps it up for the week.
Alrighty. Well, that does it for the show. Thanks for tuning in. If you are new to the channel, this is No Interference. We are your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. Thank you for everyone who tunes in and gives us a listen. If you enjoy the show, like, subscribe, share, drop a comment. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is going to be on the bottom left corner of the video. So, thanks again. Adios.
See you later.
Peace.